has killed me already a couple of times in episodes of Made in Canada. So, by way of revenge, I'm going to punch in Rick Mercer. Oh, give us back that Google here. And okay. R-I-C-K. Rick? Do I? How are we doing? 93,300. Pretty good. Pretty good. Anyways, you all know him. You all love him. Rick Mercer. Hey.
I'm actually a little freaked out about even being here because the entire notion of ideas, quite frankly, terrifies me. But it's quite frankly, it's a little intimidating to be here this morning because this is my first IdeaCity and sitting in the back row watching everyone who has, PhDs and stuff. And like I have an honorary high school diploma from a school for the learning disabled, because they literally, the kids put it to a vote, and they picked me, like that's my audience, the ADHD crowd. So it's a little intimidating. But anyway, and the whole idea, so I thought maybe, I was thinking about the whole idea of ideas and the tyranny of ideas. One of the interesting things about television, if you're doing the type of television that I've done, is you're constantly being forced to come up with ideas. In fact, my years at 22 Minutes would start every Monday morning with what was called the Ideas meeting. And, the week just got worse from there on in. Because you were supposed to come in with an idea. And, you could BS your way through it. You'd say, like, I'm going to do something on Chrétien, I suppose. And the producer would write it up like, that's your idea, is it? Very good. But over the years, I was on that show for 8 years, and I never in my life, I realized I never in my life ever came up with an idea that wasn't forced by a deadline. I mean, most people, when they see me, or when they talk to me now, they want to talk about Talking to Americans, which was a segment on 22 Minutes, and then it begat a special on CBC television. And even here at IdeaCity, when the ad appears in the paper, underneath my, it says, so Dr. So-and-so, so-and-so split the atom. And then, so-and-so, so-and-so, building cities underwater. And then Rick Mercer talking to Americans. It's like, it just got away from me in that way. But everyone else was so prepared. Okay, so, but I had this idea, you see, that I'd go to Washington, D.C., and we would do sketches in Washington, D.C. Now the price is starting to go up a bit because it's, it's a little more expensive to get there. And I was in front of the Capitol buildings in Washington, D.C., and I had 3 ideas heading in. And basically, they all stank. Like, the first one just died, and the second one died, and the third one died. So there I was in Washington, D.C., and this trip was going into the shitter, and I was thinking, this is it. The nightmare has come true. I don't have a bloody thing to do here. And there's a camera, and there's a producer, and there's everything else, and this is it. My career has come to an end. And when that happened, I daydream. Stress, I'm just daydreaming. It's my calming mechanism. I'm gone, right? And I started thinking about a conversation I had ages earlier with Ralph Ben-Mergui. I don't know why, but I'm just sitting there. I mean, my producer's literally going, what are you going to do? I'm not even hearing him. I'm going. So, anyway, this guy comes along at that very moment. He's a very well-dressed guy, right? And he's got the Capitol Hill big security pass on. He's walking by and he looks, and then he stops and he looks at our camera and it says, it's got the exploding arsehole, we used to call it, the CBC logo, right? And it says, Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, right? So he said, oh, Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. I said, yeah. And he said, what are you doing way up here? And I thought, boom, like, this is it. I could envision it. I thought, my next 2 years, I know what I'm doing. So, you know, and I said, I'm here covering Prime Minister Ralph Benmergui. And he said, oh, yes. Yes, I've heard of him. And I said, well, there's a summit, you know. It's the Clinton-Benmergui summit's going on. He said, yes. So the story, right? And the story in Canada is whether it should be the Clinton-Benmergui summit, the Benmergui-Clinton summit. He said, oh, very good. And I said, well, what should it be? And he said, oh, Clinton-Benmergui. I said, because that would be, sorry, Benmergui-Clinton, he said, because that would be polite. And I said, yes, but our prime minister is pathologically shy. And he said, oh, yes, I heard that. So the next thing you know, so the next thing you know, I'm traveling all over the city just talking to people about Prime Minister Ralph Benmergui. And I knew I had this piece. Now, the secret in television, comedy, is if something works, you beat it like a rented mule. Right? That's just, it's not glamorous, and then you don't have to come up with another idea. Right? It was my cornflakes, you know, it was my total accident in the lab, and I'm sure if I live to 100, people are going to go, hey, talking to Americans. You know, you're going to be getting emails from me, from Rick Mercer, right, you know, lengthen your, you know. The second idea that changed everything was, again, the tyranny of the blank page. Again, it was a week, and it was one of my worst weeks on the show, in fact, because I didn't have anything. I didn't have any ideas, really, and so there was nothing I really thought that had knocked it out of the park. And it was just before the election started in you know, the federal election, and Stockwell Day was the new leader of the Alliance Party. What happened that week was that it was revealed that Alliance candidates knocking door to door, or you know, were promoting this idea of citizen-initiated referendums, which actually came up earlier today in one of you know, the earlier presentations. And that if, you know, 3% of the electorate could sign a petition, then there would be this binding referendum. Now, as a piece of policy, I kind of thought it was flawed, but it started to become a story because Stockwell Day denied that it was policy. But then it was shown that it was policy, but it was policy that was supposed to be promoted on the doorsteps and not in the media. Basically, if the person answering the door seemed to be, I think, crazy, you sold them on this. But don't mention it on the news, right? I want to play the clip because, in fact, the clip was the least important part of what happened.
As we all know, Canada is a land of many different types of people. However, as Canadians, I think there's one thing we can all agree on, and that's this. That Stockwell Day has lots of good ideas. I think his best idea is his proposed referendum legislation. Basically, if any group of Canadians presents a petition with 350,000 names on it, or 3% of the electorate, and the Alliance forms the government, they will hold a referendum. Now, sure, critics point out that this type of legislation will tear the country apart, that it will drive the federal government into bankruptcy as we face referendum after referendum. Well, while this may be true, it does not change this simple fact, that if Stockwell does it, we here at 22 Minutes would enjoy it. So in preparation for an alliance majority government, we are asking our viewers to take part in an exercise in democracy. We are asking you to sign a petition that you will find at 22minutes.com. There are 1 million Canadians watching right now. All we need is 350,000 signatures. If we make it, the 22-minute referendum will become a reality. Now, the petition simply states, we demand that the Government of Canada force Stockwell Day to change his first name to Doris. Now, anytime there's a national referendum, yes, it costs about $150 million. But I think I speak for all taxpayers when I say it's worth every penny. So please, log on now or tomorrow at work, especially if you work for the government. And let's help force Stockwell Day to change his name to Doris Day. Why, you may ask? 'Cause it'll be fun.
So I just want to give you a quick rundown about how the next week went. They decided to put it in. because they had gone through the expense of creating this website. Because when I had the idea on Wednesday, there was no website. It's true. 22minutes.com did not exist, so there was no website. So, Monday, Tuesday, I had the idea, first they got to get a website. So they actually had good people at Salter New Media, and they said, okay, we can do this. And they set it up and had it ready to go. Then all of the producers put $10 in a hat, and they wrote on a piece of paper how many signatures I would get on this petition. The producer who won by guessing 5,000 signatures. By Tuesday, the show aired Wednesday, right? They won. By Tuesday, there was 50,000 signatures. But then it left the television world, and people stopped talking about it as a television event. People started talking about it as a link they got in their email. And by Wednesday, it was everywhere, literally all over the planet. People were getting it like 15, 16, 17 emails. So by Wednesday, 42 people a second were signing the petition. And it was just a fluke that the people who set up the website rented this website platform, which I don't understand, that was originally set up for Walmart or something, so it could handle that, that traffic. 42 people a second. By the following Friday, when we taped the show, we pulled the plug at 1 million people. And that same Friday, Stockwell Day changed his theme song to Que Sera, Sera. And also, Environics research says that all of his soft support, which was substantial in Ontario, completely evaporated on the Friday. And they attributed it to this thing, which I don't know if that's true or not. But anyway, it was a spectacular success. Of course, by the end of the week, it was the most visited website in Canadian web history. It was the most visited Canadian website up till that point. So it was this huge, phenomenal success. And immediately, of course, things started to change. People started saying, what are you going to do next? Going back to the beat it like a rented mule thing. There's no timer. It says 20 minutes still. I'm wrapping up now? Okay. Okay, I'm going to go really fast now. So basically, beat it like a rented mule. Everyone said, okay, you got to do another petition. But I knew another petition wouldn't work because, it would just be a stupid petition. And no one would vote for it because they were actually making a point with this petition. So we actually closed the website. And then people started saying, we're going to sell the list because the list is worth a lot of money. And I was thinking, right? You're going to be getting emails from me, from Rick Mercer, right? Lengthen your, So it's hysterical. So we just closed the website down. We completely closed the website down.